We have the French defense. Now this is a slower line. Let's see. Um, we have to consider a couple of things here. Let me show you some sidelines. Okay, knight e2. Now in this position, black's best move is to take, and then white likes to play a3. Now, I've used this system as white before. Now there's many lines. One is to take the knight, and the other is to bring the bishop back here. But then there's many lines in each one. So let's look at this one first.
Check.
Now Nimzovich against Alyekin played f5, and after f3, pawn takes, queen takes. I think Nimzovich even took the second pawn, and he basically got slaughtered here. So you can look the game up. It's rather interesting the way Alyekin just tore him to shreds here rather quickly. So one of the main lines is to play knight c6 here. Now white plays bishop b5, pinning the knight, and black plays here. Now we go pin the other knight, and now we kick this back, and this comes here. And I don't think f5 is the move. It could be played. I think I've had it played against me before. But at some point, white's going to play f3, and the chances here are about balanced. White's down a pawn, but white has the two bishops and a little more space to get his stuff out. Okay, so let's come back to the initial position. What about takes? Okay, now if he takes back here, now we can go gobble this pawn. Now there's a couple tricks here. We could have queen g4. We could even have d5 here. See, d5 uncovers an attack down here, and if here, for instance, takes, and black's kind of in a pickle here. If he takes here, white's going to check and get a little bit of development here. Black cannot castle. King e7 is going to be met by a bishop check. So, where are you going to put this king? You might have to step into a pin. And, black's got a little bit of development here. White needs to regain his pawn. But once again, white has the two bishops, and the board is kind of open. So let's see, knight e2. Let's get those rooks connected. Okay, success. Let's see, now does black have anything with this? Let's see, knight takes, f5. I don't think so. We're on this pawn, we're on this bishop. We have all kinds of discoveries here. Let's see. Yeah, that's probably the best one. Black can't really survive taking this. It's gonna get trapped. Now it's double attack. Let's go here, and I can just evict that knight, and white's for choice here. I think he's got his pawn back. He's got the two bishops. Yeah, it's an interesting position. Let's come back to the beginning. Now there's one other line I wanted to illustrate, which is similar. Okay, pawn takes. This is the either the Mises or the Bern variation. German master Mises used to play this. He had a match with Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch circa World War I, and I remember seeing some of these games in Tarrasch's Best Games of Chess. Now, they only published wins and draws by Tarrasch. So I don't know how, if Mises was able to win with black. I know Tarrasch won one or two quick ones. You can find all the games on databases online. The commentator, annotator, I guess was Fred Reinfeld. Mises or Tarrasch thought that black's third move was a mistake because it surrendered the center. And Mises thought it was a good move because it activated his pieces. And then the commentary was this conflicting evaluation should lead to some interesting chess. And one of the ideas of this whole exchange, and to back up what Mises is trying to do, is this bishop doesn't get imprisoned as it does a lot of times in the French defense. Black is going to play for a fianchetto of this bishop, and it'll have a nice long diagonal to operate on. It's one of the ideas. So sometimes, if you know different variations of the same opening or similar openings, we can sometimes navigate our way through. So my student here, ND, is playing black, and his opponent decides to avoid getting double pawns and then makes the exchange. So, now this is a interesting move, an attempt to wrest the initiative away. There's an immediate threat here. What do we do about the threat on this pawn? And White's also getting ready to take this. How do we assess a move like this? Well, number one, we can move the pawn. Number two, we can protect it with King F8. Another way we can protect it is with Queen takes D4, or even Queen F6. All these are moves that must be considered. Another idea would be to try to give up the pawn, play Knight F6, and then after you take it, what Black is hoping is that White has put his queen out of play, and that Black can gain something eventually with this half-open file. Now Black could, for instance, play Queen takes D4, and Black's a pawn ahead and has an active rook, but his king's a little on the weak side here. If White castles, Black might even take another pawn, although this could get dangerous. We don't want to grab too many pawns. Okay, there's this king is just stuck here, and Black is going to be able to muster up some activity. Matter of fact, he could probably play this move right here. Now this double attacks the knight, and if the knight wants to move, you have to be careful. Like, if you go counterattack the queen, kaboom,
checkmate.
Game over. Now, hopefully we're not going to make a move like that, but we have to be aware of these things. We could add another protector to the knight, but now we've succeeded in shutting our bishop in. And Black is still 3 moves away from castling queenside. He still has to play B6, bishop B7, and then castle. White might even have some tricks up his sleeve. Interference moves. I don't know if there's any good, but we want to be able to consider moves like this. Because what does this do? It interferes with the queen's protection here. Let's take a look at it. Now, once again, if knight takes, we don't have to do that, of course. Suddenly the mate threats are back. Now Black has a defense, yes, but he can't just arbitrarily come down here and say, "Oh, I'm going to get a new queen here. I'm going to win a piece." Well, no, you're going to get checkmated. So I don't know if Knight F3 is sound. So far, it doesn't look like it is, but maybe it is. Maybe it's playable. And then let's see. You got to play here, but Black still can't castle. He's got to come back here and chase the queen out. White, meanwhile, can take this pawn, and White's only down a pawn. He might have some attacking chances. There rook takes. I'm just saying, we can get stuff in here. Check, follow by activating this rook. Probably not enough, but we want to be aware of tactical possibilities because we don't want to just walk into it, say, well, I didn't even consider that, and then find out that it works. One thing I talk about on here, and I like to keep reminding you, is the grandmasters that they're playing these perfect games, pitching these near perfect games. They analyze bad moves too. Okay, how do you know? You can't tell if a move's bad until you look at it. So in some situations, a bad move could be good in different positions. We just have to come to an evaluation. So now, again, none of this was forced. Here, Black gave up his G pawn, but if you come back, just Queen takes D4 seems to refute White's opening. Okay, White is at the moment down 2 pawns. The pawn on G7 is protected, and Black is getting ready to maybe play something like F5. Maybe now F5 is something that'll work. So White's got his work cut out for him to justify giving up 2 pawns here. If he plays something like Queen takes, Black just happily trades down, and Black's just a clear pawn ahead, and White has nothing. So strategically, Black is winning this. So he does play knight F3, relying on the pin. But this queen can just simply come back to F6, or it can counterattack. That's interesting. And is this sound? What if White plays bishop takes H6? That's something we have to consider. Let's see what White did.
Check.
He just brought it. What if he takes here? What's Black going to do? Well, Black has an interesting move here. Bishop takes here.
Check.
Now we've got the piece back. How's White going to defend this? Notice that we have double protection on G7 for what it's worth. Now, if you take with the pawn, we're going to gobble this.
Check.
Now, if the knight or bishop interpose, we get this with check. And after this, let's see. We can take this with check, right? Pick that up. And then, let's say you take with here. Black has just won a rook. He has no development to speak of, but White doesn't have enough of an attack here to justify this. So White desperated his queen, which also develops Black's bishop. And then it's now Black's turn. He's going to just retreat his bishop. And now White can get his pawn back. And he chooses not to. So I want to back this up a minute. Let me back this up. Oops, backed up too far. Okay, let's try to find another move. Let's see. How about Queen F6? Okay, now this pawn is available for the taking, but remember, Black is 2 pawns ahead. So, for instance, if takes,
check.
I think Black can survive this, and he's just ahead a pawn. White trades queens. That's good for Black. White's got to have to come up with something different, something along this idea to pressure down here. Let's see. Knight F6, we can give back the pawn and have some development. We see we don't have time to capture here. This bishop is loose. So let's see. We have to do this first. Now, let's see. White's got his pawn back again. This knight's loose. Seems to be about even. I'm trying to wait. Black's 2 pawns up. I'm trying to find a way for black to keep his 2 pawns. So let's see. Rather than get tempoed by the queen, let's see. Suppose we come back here. There's a method to this madness. I don't know. Maybe not. You say I want to answer queen takes. No, we can't. Our bishop's loose. Darn it. Okay. Was trying to do some tricks with this. Avoiding one of the main ideas was I was trying to avoid getting tempoed by the knight when it took on e4, but then I realized the queen can take. So knight h6, he desperadoed.
Check.
I'm still wondering if he can't do something different here. Okay, this is crazy. Now if takes, now black's got 2 sets of double pawns. This knight is ready to come here and protect them both. Possibilities to do this. White's got possibilities to stick a knight here, putting some pressure there. Let's see. Let's try that. I don't know. Black might be able to... Let's see. I'm trying to play this move. Let's see. But this is a problem. This is met by this. And now, if we take...
Check.
This threat still needs to be dealt with. White's only a pawn down. White's looking okay here. Black has nothing developed. Black's got to do something like this. And all these pawns here are on light squares. It's a fascinating position. So this is a good move by White. Let's see. Just looking at takes.
Check.
Takes here to maintain the... Well, now let's come... I didn't see this before. Let's take this. Now, it gets tricky. See, if we steal this pawn, coming down here is nasty. So, we got to... maybe White's got something going here. Queen d4, he has c3. Queen here, he has f4. Wow. Your black's 2 pawns ahead, and he's going to run into trouble down here. White's got that diagonal covered. So let's see. Queen takes b2, rook here. Reverse things. We go here. We see this. Maybe it's time to... I don't know. Let's see. Let's try this move here. Now we'll try this move. Pawn takes. We're going to take here. Black is still 2 pawns ahead. e5 is under attack. Yeah, black's doing great here. So queen f6 might be a good move here. I think if White does this, he's just down a pawn. He has a little bit of development. He has an attack here. Knight c6 is going to be met by bishop b5, which pins the knight and puts this bishop on the lurch. So knight c6 may not be wise for that reason. See, he's, like I say, this is, White is threatening to take this. Okay, or if he wants to be brutal, just take this, this, and this. I mean, all kinds of danger here. And this is met by this. And if you take here, you know, this is check.
Check.
White's up a piece. You know, this is not good for black at all. So we have to, when the queen takes on e4, we have to deal with this bishop. Let's just play safe. Let's put it on e7. Well, I don't know. You know, this takes away a retreat for the queen. Let's see now. Let's go after c7. I mean, this is getting. Well, no, we have bishop d6. Okay. So let's just go to d6 anyway. And you know, if here, you know, black's just up a pawn. So this seems to be, you know, this seems to be working for black. Okay, so whoops, went too far back. That's easy to fix. Okay,
Check.
so he desperated here, and white doesn't want his pawn back. You know, what was wrong with taking his pawn? Knight takes. Okay, you can take
Check.
here. You know, game seems even. Okay, so black has the two bishops, but e4 is under attack. And there it went. Okay, f7 is under attack. Good. Now there's an annoying pin. But white grabs, or black grabs a pawn. And white's going to grab it back. So, who's better here? It's a good question. Black has a couple of weak pawns, but he has the two bishops. So, for the moment, white has some light squared weaknesses, but he doesn't have any targets on the light squares. So, black's light squared bishop has a lot of scope and mobility, but it doesn't seem to have any way to create threats. You know, one idea here for black might, it's white to play, but one idea for black might be try to chase this knight and, you know, double up some pawns. But it's hard pressed to see where the advantage lies. But, you know, black's got, because of the two bishops, black has some chances here. Now that rook is infested. Okay. Now he kicks it out. Now black can win a pawn. And he does. So the question is black winning? Because he's an extra pawn ahead. My first inclination is yes, he is. Proving it's going to be a little difficult, you know. We have a couple isolated pawns here. Okay, so now here comes the king. Might only have a few second delay between my screen and live. Okay, let's see. Let me count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-second delay. That's better. Okay. Now, this move's kind of, in a way, it seems anti-positional. Okay. Let's discuss the reasons why so you understand. Black has 5 pawns, 4 of which are on the color of his bishop. Now he's putting the last one on the color of his bishop. Okay. White no longer has, or black no longer has a light squared bishop. If black is going to win this game, objectively, we're going to do it by creating a passed pawn. We have to advance these two pawns, in theory, up to here, so that, we have to do it when they're protected too, of course, naturally, right? But if we can advance that far, we get a passed pawn. So economically speaking, it would make sense to play f5 here. Now, just as a casual point, this would be a horrible blunder because white's going to trap that bishop. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe this is not a blunder. The moment the king goes to g2, black can play rook e2 check. Although, let's see, black to play. One of the ways to get these bishops out of there is to play this. You want to play here and here. Okay, let's check this out.
Check.
Now we're going to activate the king. Now this rook is on the take. Now let's see. Now we've lost this pawn. Okay, so probably not good for black. Take. Oh, look at, no, can't do that because that happens. So let's see. We'll check first.
Check.
And we'll take. Now what's happening here? Even material. The white king is helping out against this plan. This pawn is on the take. And another interesting idea here on this is to take here. Although, I don't know, black's got to be better here, simply because he's got an extra pawn. I wouldn't want to have to play white here. Okay, so let's come back. This just seems risky. You know. I mean, even if we go for the check and then take, this, well, you're not threatening this because the bishop's on it. Keep wanting to play that move. Let's see, black to play. This puts the rook out of play. And let's see. And come over here. I don't know, maybe this rook is getting cut off. The white rook is active, but black has an extra pawn. Yeah, it's tricky. It's very interesting. Our natural instinct is that we can't do this because of this, but as I was first trying to point out that whoops. Let's see, it's black to play. When the king tries to trap it,
check.
We're able to provide a little protection for it. Now it's threatening to, if anything, come out this way. And maybe this works in black's favor. His idea is that his 3-on-1 are more valuable than black's 2-on-1. Now, black was only getting one pass pawn when it was the 3-to-2, and now white may get a pass pawn, but it'll be easier for black to stop white's one pass pawn that will be for white to stop black's two pass pawns. Very, very theoretical position. Okay, so I think f5 would have made more sense. It keeps the rook protected, provides the king access to come out. We want to get our pawns advanced so we can eventually get a pass pawn, but he went with f6. Now I have to deal with this threat. Now we got threats down here. So, black had to play a couple defensive moves that he wouldn't have had he played f5. Now this pawn's a target. Now pinning it.
Check.
Let's see. If you take, you're doubling up his pawns. Now this looks very drawish. Yeah, that's too drawish.
Check.
Okay. Now I gotta be careful this king doesn't infest.
Check.
White doesn't want to win that pawn on a7. There he did.
Check. Check.
Okay.
Check.
Looks
Check.
like they repeated the position here and agreed to a draw. Well, for all intents and purposes, it probably is a draw. But black has one thing white doesn't. He has his rook behind the pawns. Remember, you want your rook behind your pawns, your opponent's pawns.
Check.
Not enough to win here. This king tries to help out over here. These pawns are vulnerable. Now it's a draw. Okay, I'm going to stop the video I made on this one.